Okay, so one of the first update videos I have now that I've introduced the new project plane, which is this very beat up 1.2 meter P-51 from e-flite here from June 9th. The first thing I'm going to start doing is actually start looking over the aircraft. Figure out, A, what does it need? What do I got to go get on order? What do I go scour the internet for? And what do I need to fix? So just starting on the fuselage first here. I obviously pointed out in the first video that you can tell that the spinner's been changed, which tells me that this thing must have had enough of an impact that damaged the prop and spinner and needed to be replaced. This is the one off Blondie. So we know that it's obviously had some sort of an impact. You can see some evidence of foam compression and repainting around the nose. Good indication as well that this thing probably had some sort of a damage up front. This is not in fact, I might even go as far as, this is this olive drab here on the top. That is not the factory paint either. You can tell it's got brush strokes in it. So these are kind of telltale signs that the thing has kind of lived a little bit of a rough life here. You can see you can tell by the foam that it's got some witness marks and compression marks on it. So we know that the front half of the fuselage has obviously seen some damage. So I started to look inside into the battery tray is missing. But otherwise, it does not look like there's much damage on the inside of the fuselage. It doesn't look like any of the cracks have penetrated through. So hopefully that's a good sign. So either whoever fixed it did a pretty good job on it, or the damage wasn't too extensive. Moving back a little bit, you can see it's still got quite a bit of wrinkling and a large crack that goes through here. So the plane obviously split in half at one point. Looking on the back side, you can also tell on the other side of the fuselage here, I got a very large crack as well, and that has gone through the interior. Gonna have to really study that. It looks pretty straight, but once again, we're gonna try to go through that and really verify everything is okay. Looking at the bottom of the aircraft, you can see the wing mount here is very loose and it's missing quite a bit of foam. So we're gonna wanna make sure that we reinforce or try to rebuild this area, as well as re-glue and secure this. How I'm going to do that, I'm not totally sure yet. It's going to be a little bit of a learning experience, and I'll try to document it as I go. Just because I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to fix it. But the front one here is pretty tight, but the back one here is very loose. I'm not going to fly like that. Working my way through the fuselage. Doesn't look to be too bad. It's missing one of the tail letters here, so that's interesting. So the decal's been torn, so something must have happened back here. I can also tell that the tail has been heavily repaired. It's got a carbon fiber rod sticking through it, and it is bent off at an angle, full of epoxy, and all the factory decals are missing as well. So obviously the tail's been pretty banged up. And of course, the radio mast is missing, and just overall the foam's in pretty rough shape. But for a beater airplane, it might not be too bad. The structural issues that we see in these cracks and the missing foam and loose pieces, that's going to need to be fixed. That's obviously a major concern, because we don't know. I mean, you're basically inheriting somebody else's problem, and I'm the third owner at least that we know of. So it's safe to say I'm inheriting two other people's problems that they decided they didn't want anymore and decided to ditch the airplane. So this is I definitely going to have my work cut out for me on this. So that kind of covers it from the fuselage, from the aesthetic and structural standpoint. Now, once I get a receiver in it, I'm going to be able to test make sure all the servos are functioning properly, test the ESC, test the motor, make sure the electronics are functioning. So first I'm going to focus on the structure, because I don't have an extra receiver yet anyway. So we'll set that off to the side. The horizontal stimulator looks to be in fine shape here. I don't see any evidence of damage. I'm going to look over all the hinges. It looks like maybe one of them has a slight tear in it. It's hard to tell. You know what? A little blender, and that'll be fixed and probably in better shape than it is today. But this isn't too bad. The canopy is it's gaitered on the inside. That's an aesthetic issue. I'm not going to worry about fixing it. We're going to call that okay. Looking at the prop has had numerous impacts all over. This thing's junk. I'm not gonna fly on this. Are you kidding me? It is missing all sorts of pieces. How could it possibly be balanced? It's missing tips all over the place. So new prop's gonna be on its way. We're not gonna bother with that one. Props are fairly cheap too. The wing, as I pointed out in the introduction video, the wing is obviously a replacement wing. The factory wing is long gone. which is probably why the wing is in such good shape. It's brand new. But obviously I know it's been replaced. The decal's in the wrong spot, and they're the wrong decals and in the wrong spot, not the factory ones. Looking over it a little bit more, we have a retract that is not centered. It's not closing all the way, and the tires are bald. But otherwise, the wing doesn't look to be in too bad of a shape. Looks like they did use the, looks like they're all Spectrum servos in there. I can kind of see the little orange sticker in there. I can also tell you that the orange tape is, or the tape that goes over the wires is gone. So that's obviously another good indicator that this is a replacement wing. And they taped over the drop tanks. So the slide-in mounts here, they've been taped over. So obviously this, whenever that happened, they didn't have the drop tanks anymore and we're going to use them because these have been taped over. So I'll have to cut that open. Otherwise, that kind of covers it from the major pieces of the aircraft. And you know, one thing I really didn't cover is that a lot of the screws are kind of stripped out a little bit. So I ordered up new hardware as well. I figure I may be taking this one apart more often than not, so I better get some better hardware. Plus, you can always throw the spares into a box. You can always use, you never have enough hardware. It's just like building a race car or anything else. You can never have too many nuts and bolts. So anyway, that's going to be where I'm going to get started at, is starting to go through the structure of the aircraft, identify the problem areas, which I just kind of pointed out, and beginning to understand exactly what I'm in for in terms of repair. So the next update will be discussing what I have found through the structural analysis and what needs to be repaired and how I repaired it.